Hi there, everybody. Welcome on back in. So today we've already talked to David Rubin. We talked to him from Israel about the goings-on there and the current Hamas situation and why we should not take and misread the pulling back of some people from the conflict from Israel as folding their tent. That is not what they're doing. There's an awful lot in the news today that can be misrepresented and misunderstood. Let's make sure we don't do that here at home either. And for that, we go to Capitol Hill to our own 3rd District Representative, also your candidate for Senate, Jim Banks. Congressman Banks, good afternoon to you, my friend.
Hey, Pat. Good to be with you.
Nice to have you here with us. So, Congressman, talk to me about now. I'm going to talk to Martin Carball coming up in the next hour about this is not a spending year down at the State House. That can't be said at the nation's capital. In fact, you can never say that. It's going to be a big spending year. I think there's going to be a big spending fight. What's your take?
Well, yeah, we're 2 weeks away from another government shutdown if Congress can't pass a long-term spending deal. So when we go back into session on Monday, that's what we'll be focused on. The new Speaker, Mike Johnson, said no more CRs, no more omnibuses. We're going to pass a long-term spending deal that reflects the priorities of the Republican majority. So I'm going to hold Speaker Johnson to that pledge that he made before Christmas when they passed the last CR. I voted against it. I wish that we would have used the leverage of that moment to secure the border and cut spending. That's why I voted against it. But I was glad that the Speaker said we're not going to do that again. Now we have 2 weeks and I hope that'll be the case. By the way, I'm a big fan of Martin Carball. He's one of the hardest working Republicans in Northeast Indiana. For the life of me, I can't understand why he's a Green Bay Packers fan.
Well, some guys, they just don't hold up well under the stress of legislation. And so
that's fair. Give him heck for me.
Yeah, I think I will. Looking into this session, okay, do you think, just being very candid with each other, because whether it's you or whether it was Marlon Stutzman before you or whether it was the congressman before him, do you think that Johnson can hold the line and that you can actually get a non-CR spending bill? Do you think that can and will really happen with the limited leadership that you have and the limited margin that you have of majority in the House?
Yeah, we're now down to a 2-seat Republican majority. We started out with a 5-seat Republican majority. They kicked Santos out. I thought that was a bad idea. Obviously, once he's convicted, he should be removed from Congress, but they kicked him out, so that's -1. Then former Speaker Kevin McCarthy quit, official at the end of the year, so that's down another one. And then this week, Bill Johnson, a Republican from Ohio, announced that he's leaving to go be president of a college in eastern Ohio. So that shrinks us down to a 2-seat Republican majority at a time when that's really critically important that Republicans stick together on a spending fight.
Well, and regardless of which party you're with, a 2-seat majority is like nothing.
That's right. So, but it's still a majority, Pat. We have to use the leverage of the majority, and I think this is important. 60 House Republicans were down at the southern border this week with Speaker Johnson talking about our top priority in securing the border. And this is relevant to the spending fight because I'm not representing Northeast Indiana. I am not going to vote for any spending bill that continues to fund the broken border policies of the Biden administration. We've got to secure the border. So even though it's a 2-seat majority, it's a majority, and Speaker Johnson has a responsibility to leverage the majority to cut spending and secure the border. I'm not voting for it.
With the Republicans that were down at the border, were you one of them?
No, I'm in Indiana this week campaigning around the state for the United States Senate. I'll get back to the border at some point in the near future. It's important to go there, to see it, to tell the story about how broken our southern border is. But I'm glad to be in the Hoosier State this week.
Well, and you've certainly done yeoman's work down there at the border, and I certainly expect to see you down there again. My question is relative to the fact that the Republicans were just down there, and how many were there?
I think there were around 60 Republicans. A large group of House Republicans went with the speaker. We were all invited, and that's a big group. And I don't know if you saw some of the video or the pictures, Pat, but there were illegals crossing the river right behind the speaker's press conference. I mean, it was really, really crazy to see it, but that's how bad and out of control. 300,000 illegals crossed the border last month, the highest month on record, a broken record, not a good record to break. And we've had more illegals come into the United States under Joe Biden's watch in the White House than the entire population of our state of Indiana. That's how bad this is, with long-term repercussions that are going to cripple America, I believe, for a generation to come.
Yeah, it's unconscionable, And then I had a story earlier where I was talking about Corinne Jean-Pierre, and she was trying to tell us in one of her press conferences the other day that what's happening at the border is not unusual. It's nothing unlike what it's been before. It's nothing like what it's been before.
Yeah, it's nuts to hear them talk like that. I mean, they know it's a problem. Democrats in the House and the Senate know this is a problem, but they can't address it because they know that their policies are directly to blame for the crisis at the southern border. The drugs coming across the border, the crime that comes with it, and the illegals coming into this country, and what comes with that has very bad repercussions. So they know that their policies are directly responsible, but they know it's a problem, and it's going to be a major political problem for them headed into the this November election year coming up.
I think it's very good that you have the staff that you have there with you on Capitol Hill. They have always been very open for us. They've made you available to us. They've gotten me information when I've needed it, when I wasn't exactly talking to you at the time, but just some info that I needed for the show. Are you hoping that most of that staff will make the switch to you? Should you, in fact, this coming fall, should you win the Senate seat here in Indiana?
I hope so. And one commitment that I'll make on this show to your listeners is when I'm the United States Senator for the whole state of Indiana, I'm going to make my state office planted in Fort Wayne in Northeast Indiana. That will always be our home and our focus. And we're not getting the cart before the horse, though. We have the primary coming up in May. We're running hard. We're not taking it for granted. The campaign's going very well. I got the best staff in the whole state of Indiana that representing Northeast Indiana. This is, by the way, Pat, this is my win or lose the Senate race, and I have a good feeling about it. I think we're moving toward winning.
Yes.
This is my last year serving in the House and serving the 3rd District of Indiana, the best congressional district in the whole country. And my staff and myself, we're going to work hard over this final year to do everything that we can to provide not just the representation, but the service to Northeast Indiana that the 3rd District deserves. And we're going to be my staff, Tanner Spencer, running our district office out of Fort Wayne, covering the district, and David Keller, our chief of staff in Washington. We're gonna knock it out of the park over the next year for Northeast Indiana. We're proud to do it.
Yeah, you do have a great staff, and you're exactly correct. The 3rd District, and this is, being a homer, it's easy to say this, but the 3rd District really is an incredible congressional district and has been for quite some time. If you go all the way back from the time that Congressman Souter, who had defeated Jill Long and removed her from that office, and then he, of course, a few elections later had to bow out because of some indiscretions in his own life. We had the congressman who filled in after he left. We had Congressman Stutzman, who now is running again. I think it's kind of an unusual thing. The guy that had the seat before you is now the guy that wants to have the seat after you. But he and his wife, Christy, they did a great work there at the Barns there in Napanee, and they have made it possible really for that whole area business-wise to be saved with the great work that they've done. And he told me that he felt like that, the business was back to the point where he could step back in. So I don't see us missing a mark here at all. If we have Marlin stepping back into the 3rd, you step up to the Senate. Mike Braun, who has been an incredible senator for the state of Indiana, stepping into the State House. I don't think that there's anybody that could stand up against the state of Indiana, and certainly stand up against the 3rd District.
Well, one thing I never forget is how conservative and patriotic Northeast Indiana is. And when you go to Washington to represent Northeast Indiana, you're fighting for conservative values, and that's always been my focus. But Indiana is a conservative state too, and Indiana deserves a conservative fighter in the United States Senate who's pushing back not just against the radical left, Pat, but against squishy Republicans in the Senate who don't step up and fight back. And that's what Northeast Indiana is looking for in their leadership, Senate, House, Governor, and I'm proud to do my part and carry the banner for conservative principles representing our area.
And we're very proud to have you being our banner carrier. Again, as always, 3rd District Congressman Jim Banks. Congressman, thank you very much for being available today. Best of luck as you guys start a new season of legislation, and let's hope that in the middle of running for office for the Senate, let's hope that we're able to stand there in the gap and to bring all this stupid spending, start to close that down so we don't have to live from CR to CR. And the deadline on that, again, is what, the 19th?
That's right. There are 2 different dates, the 1st of February and the 19th, 2 different buckets of spending. So either way, to your point, we got to cut spending. I voted against big spending under President Trump. I voted against big spending under President Biden. A $34 trillion national debt that we just passed. So this is our opportunity to do something about it. That's what I'm going to fight for.
Congressman Banks, for your time today, sir. Thank you so very much. We'll talk to you again soon.
Have a good day.
You too.
Podcasts by Federated Media.